So, good afternoon, everyone. This webinar is to explain the common but most critical activity for any projects, that is estimation, tendering, and contracts. So, during the webinar, we'll be discussing about the basis of estimation, tendering, and contracts and its importance in construction market. So, during the webinar, I'll be trying to make you all understand from my professional as well as personal experience about these activities, steps followed for each of one of them, and its importance in construction market. So first, let us talk about estimation. So estimation is obviously not a new term for all of us. I'm pretty sure that you all have been involved into the same at various levels, like estimating a budget for a birthday party or school college function. It's the same in the construction sector as well. But here, the person responsible to do the estimate must know which type of estimate he or she is preparing and what are the steps involved in that. So, if we want to give a definition to estimation, we can say it's a process of evaluating the probable cost or estimate of a project. Like example is cost required to construct a new house, highway projects, railway projects, etc. So, before we go to the detailed type of estimate, I just want to explain much something about the importance of estimates. See, the importance of estimation can be easily understood by the fact that during this process, one has to look into the project from one, a bird's eye perspective, that is to overall understand the project scope, and two, future market understanding, that is to plan and foresee projects performance in the months ahead as per the project duration. See here, you have, whenever we talk about estimation, it's basically to arrive at a cost which the contractor or a builder may incur in future. So the important thing is future market understanding is very important for the person who is estimating the project. So as we get to know what estimation is and its importance, let us try to understand the types of estimation and the stakeholder who are responsible for the same. So based on my experience of professional in construction sector, I've divided the various types of estimate in basically two subdivisions based on the responsibility of the stakeholders. So from the slides which is here, you can see that there are six type of estimate. The first one is rough estimate, then feasibility estimate, preliminary estimate, detailed estimate, bidder's estimate, and contractor's estimate. So out of these six, the first four estimate are basically being prepared by the client, owner, or funding agency, and the last two, that is bidder's estimate and contractor's estimate, are generally being prepared by the bidder or contractor. So let us try to understand what this estimate are and how they are being evaluated. So first, let us talk about rough estimate. In this estimate, as the name suggests, it's an approximate cost is evaluated to get a feeling that approximately what project cost we are talking about, or let's say what cost we are planning to incur in this project. So, for example, let us go with an example that a 10-kilometer metro rail project has to be constructed. Okay. So based on historical data from all over India or maybe international also, you will get a historical data that what is the per kilometer cost of metro projects. So from there, if it's a 10-kilometer project, so we'll just get multiply that 10-kilometer into the per kilometer cost for any projects in India or outside, and we will get a rough estimate. So let's say in India, it's around any elevated metro project construction cost is somewhere close to 1000 to 1500 crores. So when we say as soon as we have this data that I have to construct a 10-kilometer metro rail project, so from the historical data I get an idea that we are talking a project which will be something around 1000 to 1500 crores project. So this is what rough estimate is. Okay. So the next estimate which is being prepared in the next level, that is called feasibility estimate. So before finalizing the concept of any major project, a feasibility analysis is being evaluated. During this process, an analysis is being done to evaluate the best possible options. See, as the name suggests, feasibility. Here we check the feasibility of a project, if the project is feasible or not. So the feasibility of project depends on three major criteria, that is socio-technical, commercial criteria. Like socially, the project is feasible or not, technically it is feasible or not, and then last but not the least, commercially it is feasible or not. So let us talk about the example which we considered for rough estimate. That was 10-kilometer metro rail project. So in our 10-kilometer metro rail project, an analysis will be conducted about the type of metro rail which should be constructed. Based on the feasible analysis, we will make a feasible analysis like it should be elevated metro, or it should be a underground metro, or it should be a combination of elevated and underground metro. See, this particularly depends on the locality, on the budget you have for the project, and the requirement of the project. Okay, so feasibility estimate will be like, and in this stage, the consultant who is doing the feasibility analysis will generally prepare three estimates. One is purely for the elevated construction cost for 10-kilometer. One is completely 10-kilometer underground metro project, and then there will be a combination of elevated and underground. So based on these three, this three estimate will be evaluated, and will be checked that which one of the among these three will suit the requirement of the client. So after that, that particular option which suits the requirement of the client will be considered as the feasibility estimate. So the third type of estimate is preliminary estimate. Preliminary estimate is again very much similar to feasibility estimate, but it have a single specific details of the project will be considered while making the preliminary estimate. Okay, like if we talk about a 10-kilometer metro rail in Faridabad or maybe in Noida, so the cost component of this particular city should also be considered in preliminary estimate, which was not considered in feasibility estimate. Then comes our detailed estimate. As the name suggests, this estimate is more detailed and generally more accurate. It considers all the specific requirement of the project. In this step, a detailed designing of the project is generally done, and subsequently a more realistic cost calculation is obtained. Let's say for our example of 10-kilometer metro rail project, we have to, as this is in the scope of client or owner, the client will engage a design consultant who will prepare the detailed design of the project, and based on that detailed design he will prepare a bill of quantities for the project, and based on that bill of quantity the detailed estimate will be evaluated. The detailed working of this detailed estimate I'll explain later in the coming slides. Then comes the bidder estimate. It is again, it is same as detailed estimate, but as we know that this is bidder estimate, and for any project we generally have two or more bidders. So every bidder will have their own estimate which they will submit for the bid evaluation, and then finally one of them will get the project. So when we say bidders estimate, there may be 3, 4, or maybe 6, 7 bidders estimate. But let us understand why, if we have to construct a 10-kilometer metro rail, why this bidder estimate is different from each bidder to each bidder. It should be same. Means the material cost will be same for every bidder, the equipment cost should be same for every bidder, the labor cost should be same for the every bidder. But the reason for of changes in the bidder's estimate is basically because of his expertise, his corporate position, his market hunger, his project requirements, etc. and etc. So let's say, when I say expertise, what does that mean? Expertise mean that a bidder who is, let's say, is working for our 10-kilometer metro rail project, elevated, he has already all the equipments required for the project. So his one project is going to end, and then he will bid for this project. So with those equipment which will be free from his last project, he can use it in this project. So the cost will be cheaper for him for this project, because he already has the resources for this project. But then let's say there is one more bidder who do not have any existing project in his hand, and he do not have these resources. So for this particular project, he has to purchase those resources and book the cost for that resources into this estimate. So because of that, his estimate may go high. So these are some of the reasons why there are difference between bidder's estimate of one bidder to another bidder. So let's say now we talk about the last type of estimate, which is contractor's estimate. It is the estimate on which finally the selected bidder or contractor, after award of the project, works. This basically works as a guiding principle for the execution team, that the cost should not go up from the contractor's estimate. Okay, this particular estimate is being prepared and being monitored at every level during the execution stage. So this is basically, you can say, the guiding principles. The execution team must follow this estimate. They should not go higher than this estimate. If they are going higher than this estimate, then the cost control personnel will flag that there is something wrong is going on, like maybe the methodology has been considered different, maybe the rates has been considered different. So as soon as he flagged this, then there will be some cost control people will sit down, we will discuss why we are going ahead of the estimate, and then this should be sorted out. So basically this is the guiding principle for an execution team to maintain and to monitor the profitability of the project. So as we understand about these six type of estimate, so through this graph, I just wanted you to understand the time required and the accuracy of each type of estimate. So it's a very simple bar chart which I have been indicated here, where the red bar indicates the time required for the estimate and the green bar indicates the accuracy of the estimate. So let's say if we talk from bottom, you can see the rough estimate. The time required is very less, and accordingly the accuracy is also less than the other type of estimate. So if we go one step ahead, the feasibility estimate, the time required is a bit more than rough estimate, and the accuracy also increases. Similarly, preliminary estimate, again the increase in time will subsequently impact the accuracy level, which will increase as well. So this particularly is a graph which says that more time you invest in your estimate, more accurate estimate you can get. Okay, so there are some calculation processes which we have to follow while calculating our estimate. So based on that calculation process, I have subdivided this six type of estimate into two basic calculation stages. One is top-down calculation, for which by which we calculate the preliminary estimate, feasibility estimate, rough estimate. Okay, and then the second one is bottom-up calculation, by which we generally prepare contractor's estimate, bidder's estimate, and detailed estimate. So let us talk more about these two type of calculations. So let us consider top-down calculation first. The name of the project process suggests its philosophy, that here the calculation is being done from an overall data which is further analyzed to get our required cost. Here the calculation is based on a historical data of similar project. So two major steps involved in this type of calculation before we go to the final estimation is identification of project details to be estimated. That is like scope of work, where the project is, location. And then the second step is identification of similar project. So it's based on scope of work, or maybe it is based on location, that the similar project is in same location, or it has almost same scope of. So these two are the major steps which we have to follow before we do the estimation for this project, this type of calculation. So steps involved in estimations are cost details of similar project. Then we have to evaluate the cost factor based on project unit. Then a multiplication of cost factor with the quantity of new project. And then finally some adjustment factor for cost escalation, location, scope, etc., etc. So here I just want to make you all a small calculation by just taking a pen and paper. I don't want you to just go through the presentation and understand. So I'll give you an example. I've also noted down. You can also note it down and make some specific calculation. And after that small calculation, you can understand that we will be evaluating a 10-kilometer railway project cost in another 5 to 10 minutes. Okay, so let us consider an example which we were considering till now, that is a 10-kilometer metro rail. Let us assume that the scope for our project. See, if you can see this, first step was to identification of project details to be estimated, scope of work and location. So let us assume that the scope of work for our project is a 10-kilometer metro rail project, and which is having 4 stations. Okay, 4 stations, and then the location is Faridabad. Okay, so this is, let's say this is our project for which we have to estimate the cost. Now the second step is identification of similar project. Assuming Faridabad do not have any existing metro project, okay, we may consider Delhi metro project as our reference project. Okay, so for that, what we will say is there is a Delhi metro project which is again 10-kilometer long project, but it has 5 stations. Okay, and the obviously location is Delhi. So what we have scope of work, which is, I think you are noting it down. Scope of work is 10 kilometers and 4 station. Location is Faridabad. That is what we have to estimate. And the details which we have is for a 10-kilometer metro rail project with 5 station, and the location is Delhi. Okay. So now let us do the estimation for that project. So cost detail of similar project. So the project which we are referring of Delhi Metro Rail project is somewhere close to 1200 crores, which includes 1000 crore for your elevated corridor, and then 200 crores for station. Okay, so now the next step is to evaluate the cost factor. So from the data which we have discussed just now, the elevated metro cost, total cost was 1000 crore, and the total length was 10 kilometer. So when we divide 1000 by 10, we get 100. So what we can say is 100 crores per kilometer cost is for elevated metro project. Okay. Similarly, we were having 200 crore for station and 5 station. So if we divide 200 divided by 5, we'll get 40 crores per station. So these are the cost factor which we calculated based on the data which we have for similar project. Okay. Now the multiplication of cost factor with quantity of new project. So in our new project, we have 10-kilometer total length and we have 4 stations. So what we will do, we will multiply this 10-kilometer with the 100 crores per kilometer cost, which we calculated in the cost factor, plus 4 number of station into 40 crores per station cost, which we again calculated in our last step as cost factor. So when we do this calculation, the total cost becomes 1160 crores. So I believe you guys have also got the same result, that the total cost becomes 1160 crores for our scope of work. Okay. Now, as we defined earlier, this project in Delhi was a already constructed project, and let's say that was 5 years back. Okay. So whatever cost we have got after multiplication of cost factor, it is a cost of project 5 years back in Delhi. But what is our requirement? We should construct a 10-kilometer metro rail project presently at this stage and in Faridabad. Okay, so what we will do, we will make the use of adjustment factor, which is our last component for calculation of doing estimation. So adjustment factor, how we will do? So let's say in last 5 years, the the cost of resources for construction sector has been escalated by 10%. Okay, so what we will do, we will make we will add additional 10% on the cost what we have calculated in third step, which is 1160 into 1 plus 10%. Okay, so 1160 plus 10% of 1160, that is 116 crores. The total becomes 1276 crores. So I believe you are getting the same result. If not, we can have a discussion during our Q&A session. Okay, now this is what we have made a interpolation from our cost what was coming 5 years back to now. So now this 1276 crores what we are talking about is a cost of the project at present. But again, there is one more factor which we have to make an adjustment, that is the location. The 1276 crore is a metro rail project in Delhi. But when we talk about Faridabad, then we should make an adjustment factor. So let us assume that the cost of construction market resources are 5% cheaper in Faridabad than in Delhi. Okay. So we have to use a negative adjustment factor of 5%. So our new cost will be 1276 crores minus 1276 into 5%. And this becomes 1212 crores. So this is basically our estimate of a 10-kilometer metro rail project with 4 stations in Faridabad at this stage. So you can see this particular 1212 crores we have evaluated from a historical data, and we have evaluated in, I think, 5 minutes. Okay. So I believe you guys have also got the same result. Let's discuss in during the Q&A session if you are getting some different results. Okay. So moving on to the second type of calculation, which is bottom up calculation. So when we say bottom up calculation, it's basically has all the specific details of the project should be calculated here. When we say bottom means the least important item should also be considered and should be costed very effectively. Okay, so this calculation is basically a calculation which will be having two specific component. One is direct cost, another is indirect cost. So I will explain you the steps involved for cost evaluation of direct as well as indirect cost in this slide. So let us talk about direct cost first. Direct cost, study of project scope. See, any project you are doing a costing for any specific project, you should know what is the scope of work very specifically. The scope of work should be very clearly defined, should be very clearly understood by the person who is estimating the project. Okay, he should be very clear that if the project is elevated or underground, or maybe he has to make some junctions there, some diversion there, that should be very clearly should be known by the person who is doing the estimate. So study of project scope is the most important step, and obviously it's the first step which any estimator should do. The second step is item wise detailed quantity calculation, or we in construction sector we say it has preparation of BOQ, bill of quantities. Okay, so this is basically a process where a designer, okay, it may be in-house or maybe a designer who has been hired by the contractor, it purely depends on the capacity of the contractor. If he has own in-house design team who is capable of designing the project, he will do it in-house. If he do not have, he will hire a sub-consultant and tell him to design the project for him and make a bill of quantities for him. So this particular step is the design of the entire project and making a bill of quantities. See, when we say bill of quantities, I'm sure you must have heard about this term if you have been in this sector, or you have been using this bill of quantities in your estimation classes in your college level as well. So bill of quantities is something where the item wise activity will be defined, like what is the grade of concrete you have to use, what are the steel requirement in the project, what is the earth filling requirement in the project, or maybe what is the structural steel requirement in the project. So this bill of quantities will explain this particular activities and also will provide the specification of these activities, and will also provide the quantities, like how many cubic meter of concrete we are talking about, how many ton of reinforcement we are talking about, how many ton of structural steel we are talking about. So this again, this is very important for the estimate, because your entire estimate is being you can say guided by this particular bill of quantity. So if the quantities are wrong, your estimate is wrong. If the quantities are accurate, your estimate must be accurate. Okay. So the third step is preliminary planning of the project. See, we all know that estimate of any project depends on the planning of the project, depends on the total duration of the project. Uh, let's say we talk about an example that there is a project similar scope. When we say, let's say we take the same example of 10-kilometer metro rail project, and we all know that if we have to construct this particular 10-kilometer metro rail in 24 months, our estimate will be different. And if we have to construct this particular project in 18 months, the estimate will be different. This is because of the resource utilization. Okay, because if you have to complete this particular project in less time, you have to involve more resources to the project. And if you have to do it for a if the time period is lenient a bit, you have got some 6 months more, then you can do it with more flexible resource deployment. So this particular step is again important to estimate a project cost. Then the fourth step is resource deployment based on the planning. So we have already discussed that based on the preliminary planning, we will make a resource deployment. So when we say resource is something when resource is something which is required for the project in terms of labor, in terms of material, in terms of equipment for the project. Okay. So based on the bill of quantity and preliminary planning of the project, we will prepare our resource deployment, that how much labor is required in which particular month. Okay, so this type of deployment schedule will be there. Then similarly, there will be equipment deployment schedule. So how much equipment is required for any project duration. So this particular step will make you will give you the total cost of your labor and equipment. Okay. Then the next step is to do the site visit. See, site visit is again very important, because the estimate in any estimate, like if we talk about our 10-kilometer metro rail project, the estimate will depend on which location we have to construct. Okay, let's say if it's a very busy area, then we cannot just go and construct it. We have to make a temporary diversion of the roads which are being affected during the construction. So that particular analysis we can only do if we visit the site. Okay, so the requirement of site visit is to understand the complexity of the location, and second, which is again important, is to collect the local available resource cost. Like we all know that the cost of brick, cost of earth, cost of land changes from each location to each location. Means it, you can see that it changes from village to village. It changes every 10, 20, 50 kilometers. So for that we have to visit the site, we have to take those local resource cost, we have to collect those cost, those rates, and put it in our costing.